Okay, well, thank you for the question. I think it's an important question, and I think you framed it nicely in terms of the history, because we have to remember that actually fructose had a healthy start. The current hysteria is that fructose is all metabolic evil in one sugar and that we should be very concerned by it. But it actually started as a low glycemic index sugar that was considered potentially of benefit in people with diabetes because of its low glycemic index. But as some observational studies came forward and animal studies, this hysteria around fructose really began and people became quite concerned. So out of that, we really wanted to test it carefully, because I think we have to be careful on relying on observational studies and relying on animal studies when making our recommendations. So we wanted to look at the highest level of evidence from controlled feeding trials, which give us the highest level of evidence in nutrition to inform clinical practice guidelines and public health recommendations. So when we applied this methodology, and we looked very, very carefully using controlled feeding trials, doing a systematic review of those, what we found was that, in fact, as long as you match for calories or energy, that fructose, in fact, does not have any harm, all the harm that's been associated with it, as long as you match for calories. And in fact, there might actually be benefits still, as was first mentioned almost 30 years ago, for people with diabetes, and that it elicits a lower glycemic response, which translates into improved blood sugar control in people with diabetes without the harm that people are associating with it. That being said, if one overconsumes, and we looked at the same evidence in those studies where it's consumed providing excess energy, more energy than we need, putting us in a positive energy state where we're gaining weight, then there is a concern with fructose. Fructose does have all those adverse metabolic effects that people talk about in terms of blood lipids, on blood sugar, body weight gain, which is obviously an issue, an increase potentially in blood pressure, increase in uric acid, and the risk for gout. But the evidence suggests that that difference is no more than any other form of energy, carbohydrates, that one overconsumes. So I think the issue really is not to overconsume, that at moderate amounts, that it can be a safe sugar for people with diabetes, and there may even be some potential advantages. So I would add one more point, actually, to this discussion, and that's the question of fruit, which I think is an important one, because fructose is the sugar of fruit. It's the fruit. It's considered fruit sugar. And some people have taken the message that fructose might be harmful to mean that they need to consume less fruit. And I think that they need to dismiss this entirely. I think if anything in nutrition is uncontroversial, where there is no controversy, it's that the health benefits of fruit. And we found actually is that fruit, providing a small dose of fructose in the context of a healthy package as fruit, actually does have benefits for glycemic control. So one should not be interpreting the current messages against fructose to suggest that there is any harmful effect of fruit. And certainly when we look at fructose carefully, as we've done, we also see no